Muezz Street is a very important street. It's the oldest street in Cairo, literally the oldest street in Cairo, the oldest street in the city that was named Cairo. Nowadays, the capital of Egypt is Cairo, and this is also what the name of that we use for the great city of Cairo, which is Cairo and Giza Governorate. Cairo is coming from the Arabic name al-Qahira, and the name of this city goes back to where this street is located. Muezz Street is located in the heart of Fatimid Cairo, or al-Qahira al-Fatimiyya. This city was founded by the Fatimid, who came from North Africa in the 10th century. They came with a dream, not only ruling Egypt, but ruling the Islamic world. At that time, in the 10th century, and even way before, the Islamic world was ruled by the Abbasid, and their center of rule was in the east side of the Islamic world, in Baghdad. So the Fatimid, their idea was to rule the Islamic world, and they saw the location of Egypt the perfect location to do their empire, or their ruling dynasty, or ruling era. Because Egypt is, if you look to the map of the Islamic world, you are going to see that Egypt is right in the center. So the location is very strategic. So this is why they decided to come and take Egypt, and out of Egypt make their rule. So when they came to Egypt, they wanted a new capital for that new era about to start. So this is when they decided to build Cairo. So they gave the order, and there is a story that they started making the foundation of Cairo, and the original plan was to name the city el-Mansuriyya, meaning the victorious. But they say that while they were making the foundation of the city and building Cairo, building el-Mansuriyya, they saw planet Mars in the sky. And it's not something that you see every day, that you see planet Mars. So they were surprised, wow, we see planet Mars. And planet Mars at that time was named al-Najm al-Qahir, the concurrent star. So they said, oh, wow, we see the concurrent star. So the concurrent star, while we are making a new capital for Egypt, a new capital for that new era about to start, so maybe let's call the city, yes, you know it, Al-Qahira, not al-Mansuriyya, the concurrent, named after the planet Mars. Yes, this was a sign. So let's use it. Let's call it the city Al-Qahira instead of al-Mansuriyya. So from here came the name of Al-Qahira, the name that we use from the 10th century up to today, so for more than 1,000 years. So Muezz Street, that street used to divide the city Cairo, founded by the Fatimid, in two halves. So this was the main avenue in the city. And it was named after the first Fatimid caliph in Egypt. So when the Fatimid came, they built Cairo, and they made this street. So they named it after the first Fatimid in caliph or ruler. Caliph is like a ruler in Egypt. His name was al-Muezz li-Din Allah al-Fatimi. So this is why, yes, you know it. The name of the street is al-Muezz. Al-Muezz historically start from Bab Zuwila, so the old gate of Cairo, Zuwila, up to Bab el-Futuh, or the gate of conquest. But nowadays, when we say Muezz Street, most of the time we don't refer to the whole street, but more to the part of the street that's done today as a museum or an open air museum by the Ministry of Antiquity. This starting from Sultan Qalawun complex up to Bab el-Futuh. Okay, so historically Muezz Street is the whole street, but nowadays when we say Muezz Street, we more refer to after el-Khalili market, so from Qalawun complex up to Bab el-Futuh, because when you go to visit in Muezz, you go to Qalawun complex, you buy the ticket of the street, and you start visiting the monuments one by one. While you are standing in front of Kalawoon complex, where you go on to buy the ticket, that part of the street is very important. Also very famous for Egyptians, but they don't know that this is the location. Can you guess what is the name of this street? Any guessing? People watching the live? Any guessing? I don't see the comments yet. Any guessing? Okay, so the part of Kalawoon street, in front of Kalawoon complex, that part of the street is Bin el-Asrin, or between the two palaces, or in English, the Palace Walk, the famous Naguib Mahfouz novel. Naguib Mahfouz was a famous Egyptian writer, a Nobel Prize winner. Yes, Bin al-Asrin Asim was a Nobel Prize winner. He was born in that part of the city. Later on, he moved to live somewhere else, but that part of the city is really an inspiring place. I love walking there, and Naguib Mahfouz used to love walk there, just to walk in the streets and in the small streets and be inspired. So this is why most of his novels were named after street names. So one of his most important famous novel was divided on three books. One of them is called Bin al-Asrin, or in English, Palace Walk. So that part of the street, right in front of Kalawoon complex, this is Bin al-Asrin, or between the two palaces, or the Palace Walk of Naguib Mahfouz. Why they call it Bin al-Asrin? They call it Bin al-Asrin, or between the two palaces, because when the Fatimid built Cairo, there used to be a palace on one side of the street, then on the other side of the street there used to be another palace. So from the Fatimid time, that part was called Bin al-Asrin, or the part between the two palaces. And surprisingly, until now, almost 1,000 years after, it's still called the same name, or it's famously known by this name. It's really interesting when you think about the history of Cairo and how things can remain for more than 1,000 years or 2,000 years. It's really beautiful. So Muezz Street, and that part of the street is Bin al-Asrin. Also, when you walk further in the street of Muezz, each part of the street has a different name. This is what the local people call it. So, for example, the part where the people make the copper work, this is the coppersmith. We have the lemon market. This is where they sell small fresh lemon or pickled lemons. We have the jewelry makers, Sera. So each part has a different name, but they're all part of the same street. In my street, there are different important monuments. So if we are starting from Kalawoon complex, we will find first, right in front of Kalawoon complex, this is an older monument. This is the mausoleum of Sultan Salih Ayyub from the 13th century AD. Everything in this street is old, so this is why it's an open-air museum. Some people, they say this is the biggest open-air museum for the Islamic monuments in the whole world. So that street is really important. In every step you take, you find something fascinating that will inspire you and will make you feel amazed with the beauty of the art and the importance of the history. So we have the mausoleum of Salih Ayyub, the last sultan from the Ayyubid period, built for him by his famous wife, Shagar Ed-Dur, and I'll be sharing with you later a video talking about the history of Shagar Ed-Dur, which later became a female ruler, which only happened twice in the Islamic history in general. So we have the mausoleum of Sultan Salih Ayyub. Then in front of mausoleum of Sultan Salih Ayyub, we have the complex of Sultan Kalawoon, again from the 13th century, but this time from the Mamluk era, the era of the slaves. And I always say, if you have 5 minutes when you reach that street, for example, if you were touring to the pyramid and you went to the market and you have 5 minutes before the closure, you should go inside the mausoleum of Sultan Kalawoon. This is, for me, one of the most fascinating places I ever went to. We will share on the page the pictures of this mausoleum, but when you see it in real life, this is something that blows the mind. You enter and you see the walls are covered with marble and with mother of pearl as a mosaic, like small pieces all over the wall of a huge, magnificent mausoleum. This is something very beautiful you should see. This mausoleum is part of a complex where we have a madrasa, a school, and a hospital. As I told you, we share later more in details the history of these monuments. So we have the mausoleum or the complex of Qalawun, and after Qalawun we have the madrasa of his son, el-Nasir Muhammad ibn Qalawun, or the son of Qalawun. Then after the madrasa of Nasir Qalawun, you should not also miss looking to the door of this madrasa, because this is the most important thing in this madrasa, is a Gothic style door that used to be a church door. It was a trophy of war when they retook back Acre from the Crusaders. And we'll try to share again pictures of these places. So after the madrasa of Nasir Muhammad ibn Qalawun, you are going to find the madrasa of Sultan Barquq. And by the way, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, they shared many VR monuments, and the madrasa of Sultan Barquq is among these sites. So we share the link so you get to see it. And again, if you have 10 minutes, so we give 5 minutes to the madrasa of Sultan Qalawun, and 5 minutes when you are visiting Muezz Street. I mean, if you are short on time only, to the madrasa of Sultan Barquq. And again, let me give you quickly some details about the madrasa of Sultan Barquq. So when you watch and you go, when you see the link of the VR of these monuments, you know the importance of it. This madrasa belongs to an important sultan from the Mamluk era, the madrasa of Sultan Barquq. He built it to be a madrasa and khanqa. Hi Dina. He built it to be as a madrasa and khanqa. Madrasa, it means a school, but in the Islamic architecture, when we say madrasa, we mean a Quranic school. And khanqa, this is not an Arabic word, but this Persian word that refers to the place of lodging for the Sufi sheikh. Sultan Barquq was really fascinated by the Sufi sheikh. The Sufi are mystical Muslim who like to meditate and look to God as the beloved one. So he wanted to build special places for the Sufi sheikh to meditate. Sultan Barquq was in between two transition era in the Mamluk period. So he was more busy with the political affairs, but still he wanted to make something for the Sufi sheikh. So the first thing he did, he built this madrasa in Muezz Street, and part of it was a khanqa that can lodge up to 60 Sufi sheikh who live in the madrasa of Sultan Barquq, in addition to around 125 places for the students who can stay in the madrasa if they wish. But he wanted to have a bigger khanqa for the Sufi sheikh, so this is why he asked his son Barquq. He said he said to Faraj, his son, my son, please, even if I die, please build a khanqa, a proper khanqa for the Sufi sheikh. So this is why after Sultan Barquq died, Sultan Faraj, following the wish of his father, built another, like the first specialized khanqa, like a huge one, built it for the Sufi sheikh in the desert at that time. Today, the Northern Cemetery of Cairo, this is what we call City of the Dead. This was the khanqa of Sultan Faraj, built following the wish or the dream of his father Sultan Barquq. But the one in Muezz Street, he did one on a small scale for the Sufi sheikh. When you watch the VR, please look to every detail. Don't be rushed to go inside and see the details from inside, because even outside, this madrasa is so beautiful from the moment before you step in. We are standing now in front of the door. The door of the madrasa is made from wood covered with copper inlaid with silver, and this was a very hard work to do. I don't know if you're able to see it clearly in the VR, but when you look to the high Iman, but when you go and see it in real life, it's a stunning. It's like copper and silver door, and that shows how much the Mamluk art reached. It reached the top. The Islamic art in general reached the top in the Mamluk era because they had the best artists from all over the Islamic world. You go inside the madrasa and you are going to see another beautiful wooden door decorated with the name of the Sultan, and always look for a circle when you are looking to the Mamluk monuments. This is where you are going to able to spot the name of the Sultan. This circle was always divided into 3 parts, and the name of the Sultan was always in the middle. Then you walk into a beautiful corridor with marble, and you are going to find openings in the ceiling. This is to allow the air and light in the madrasa and to circulate. Hi, good morning, Iman. This is to allow and circulate the air in the monument. Then you go and reach the main part, and always the old monuments, all the Islamic monuments before the Ottoman period was always open air monuments, because the weather in Egypt is beautiful most of the time. We have sun, we have rarely rain. It's only when the Ottoman came, they brought their architecture, which is closed monuments, because it rains and snow in Turkey. But in Egypt, the weather is beautiful, so it's always open air monuments. So again, the Madrassa of Sultan Barquq is the same, an open air monument. And you walk and you enjoy. You are going to find in the middle a fountain covered by a wooden cover, and they say that this was rebuilt in the modern time when they did restoration to the madrasa in the 19th century. And you are going to find that the madrasa is divided into 4, what we call 4 iwan. Iwan is like a room closed from the 3 sides and open from the 4th side. So this is the traditional architecture of a madrasa. So it's again, enjoy the working to the VR. We've shared with you later so you can see it. So this is about the Madrassa of Barquq. So we go out from the Madrassa of Barquq and we continue walking in the street. And among the important monuments, also you need to note that this is not everything in the street. The street also has so much. We try to pick the most important one. You are going to find a palace, or the ruins, or what remains from a palace from the 14th century, the palace of Amir Bishtak. And beside it we have a Sabil from the Ottoman period, Katkhuda, the Sabil of Katkhuda. Also at the same place we have an old public bath from the 15th century, Hammam Inel, the Hammam or the public bath of Sultan Inel. We also have the Kamiliya school from the Ayyubid period. And we continue walking in the street and we pass by el-Akmar Mosque. This one is among the rare few monuments that we have in the street from the Fatimid period. We said that the Fatimid built Cairo, but actually up until now what all the monuments we talked about is Ayyubid or Mamluk. So in this street, in my street, we have two monuments or 2 mosques from the Fatimid period, the one who built Cairo, who built that part or started that part of the city. The first one is el-Akmar Mosque, and the second one is el-Hakim Mosque. El-Akmar Mosque is very interesting from outside because the decoration has the name of God, the name of Prophet Muhammad, and something you will not find in the traditional mosque decoration in Egypt, which is the name of Ali. The name of Ali alone, because sometimes they write the name of the 4 Rashidi Caliph, like Abu Bakr, Osman, Omar, Ali, but no, this time only referring that they are writing the name of Ali, because this mosque was built by the Fatimid, and the Fatimid, they were Shiite, they were Ismaili Shiite, so they believe that that transition went from the Prophet to Ali, so Ali is the first Imam for the Shia. So this is why the decoration is very interesting, because you can find the name of Muhammad and Ali on the El-Akmar Mosque. You continue walking in my street and you're going to find a small street. This is known by الدرب الأصفر. This is where you find السهيمي, بيت السهيمي or Sahimi house, which was originally two houses, one built in the 17th century and another one built in the 18th century. We continue further and we find another complex, mainly السبيل, this Silih Dar, and this one from the early 19th centuries, from the time of Muhammad Ali. And this one is very fascinating. If you go there and you try to tip the guy, he can show you where they used to store the water. And actually this is one of the most fascinating experiences, is to go into the water, اللي هو الخزان, I don't know the name exactly in English, like the cistern, something like that. Anyway, this is where they used to store the water, and it takes up to 1 million cube of water. It's something fascinating. When you go inside it and you can practice singing or making an echo, you'll be surprised. Then after Sabil al-Silih Dar, you continue walking in the street, in the lemon market part, and you're going to find the ladies, the mist looking to the locals, and the ladies selling the lemon and pickling lemons and olives. Then you will reach el-Hakim Mosque, a grandiose mosque. Unfortunately, this is today a beautiful mosque, but unfortunately it didn't keep much of its old style, because when they did a restoration to the mosque, it was more renovation. So it's a very beautiful mosque to see, but it was more renovated than restored. And this mosque, it has different nice stories. Just to make it short for you now, just among the stories, this mosque was built by el-Hakim. He was a Fatimid caliph who ruled Egypt during the Fatimid time. And el-Hakim, some people or some historians say that he was crazy, like real crazy. But we are not really sure if he was that, because maybe people were making up stories. But anyway, among the things that he did, and this is why they said like he lost his mind, is he made a rule, like a law, that no one was allowed to eat molokhia. This was among the crazy things that he ordered. And molokhia, this is like a famous Egyptian plate that Egyptians would eat. But he said like no one is allowed this molokhia, and like no one know why. Some people, they said that at that time it used to have like a sort of something that grow on it that make people sick or die. We don't know. After el-Hakim mosque, you are going to reach the gate of Cairo, Bab el-Futuh, or the gate of conquest. And once you pass the gate, I would like to let you know that you are now outside the city. You are now outside Cairo, believe it or not. So you are outside looking to the gate, and here you are. You walked Cairo, you are outside Cairo. Historically, this is where Cairo ended. And you get to look and admire the gate of Cairo from outside, and you look to the wall of Cairo, because Cairo was a gated city, so it was closed. It was surrounded by a wall, and there were gates to control who would go inside and who would go outside. And when you look to Bab el-Futuh, just try to remember that this is the gates where great sultans walked. Can you imagine if you can? And I'm talking started from especially the Mamluk period, and you imagine how if any new sultan became the sultan, he needs to walk the Muezz street until he reach the citadel and take the rule. So all the great sultans walked in Muezz street. This was the main street of Cairo, one of the main streets in Cairo. So this is why you see I only told you many of the monuments in my street, but there are also other things to see there, because everyone was competing to build there, because this is where the main parade will pass. This is where everyone would be looking forward to go. So this is why it's that street. It's very important, and walking there, you walk in more than 1,000 years history, and you feel the beauty of the monuments, the beauty of the history. You can feel it just walking there, wondering even early morning, during the day, or even at night. And I always say that people who live there, who are originally from that part of the city, you can feel that they are very charismatic, because I think in a way, in their DNA, they have layers of history inside them. So it's a fascinating place, and I understand why Naguib Mahfouz used to walk there and be inspired to write novels. I hope you enjoyed this morning talk while I'm drinking my coffee. And if there are any places you'd like to know about, please let us know in the comments. If you have any suggestions, we are open to the suggestions. We have free time, plenty of free time, and we can do whatever you want. We can take you to any places you wish. I wish you a great day, and please stay positive, and always remember that we can always act instead of reacting. Life is beautiful, and we can get the best out of it. Please stay safe, and wish you a great day. Bye!